Hey everybody, it's another episode of Grant Draws. Today on the show we have Matt Mossman. You see his art up there now. Matt is drawing some type of robot, it looks like. Do you want to explain or
Oh, it's this is just something honestly, this is something I just kind of drew up mainly as an exercise for inking. I wanted to ink something kind of detailed and so I made something kind of detailed.
well, it's a neat character design. Before we
Thanks.
get too much into it, I did want to mention Matt Mossman was an artist in one of the stories in the first volume of Memoirs of the Morbid. So now, the second volume of Memoirs of the Morbid, believe it or not, I literally just sent it to the printer like an hour ago. But if you ordered the first volume, because you could get a copy through of the first volume through if you order the first volume of Memoirs of the Morbid, uh, it will be on there too. So I did want to mention that uh, our show is sponsored by the Independent Creators Directory, Joe Bachman, which Joe Bachman runs. Are you aware of the Independent Creator Directory, Matt?
I have not heard of that.
Okay. So if you go, I'll get the link and I'll post it in the notes because the thing is, it's a really good resource. Uh, my friend Joe Bachman does it, and it's a lot of people. What it is he's basically doing like the Internet Movie Database, but for independent comic book creators.
Cool.
Well, it's not just independent comic book creators. There's like game designers, stuff like that as well. So
Thanks.
it's a pretty cool thing.
That's cool.
And I will post the link in the chat. So, catching up with comments a little bit. There's Joe Bachman now. Like I said, he runs the Independent Creators Directory. Carlos says that he's intrigued by the thumbnail for the show. The realism is high. So I posted a screenshot from the first Memoirs of the Morbid.
Yeah.
So that's Matt's art. If that's what you guys.
Yeah, I draw buildings a lot, and that was a fun little shack to draw in that picture. It's
Yeah.
it was actually a photo that Ian gave me, the writer Ian Mondrick.
Oh.
Give him a prop, and yeah. But I draw. I mean, here's some pencils. I could throw that up there. I draw pretty detailed buildings, and that's some pencils I've done for that kind of stuff. I've always been intrigued with architecture and been pretty much a big student of perspective, and do a lot of work of that on the side too, and always been an interest. I've always liked drawing buildings and things like that, and I don't know. I think my work trends towards more realistic. I don't really think of it in terms of a style. I try to draw the best looking. I try to I don't think about how anybody else makes anything look. I just try to draw. If I see like a building like that, I try to draw it like the building. I don't really think about, oh, hey, how would what Jim Lee draw this, or whatever artist. I just like, well, I'm going to try to draw this. My writer's giving me this picture of this drawing. This is what he wants it to look like. So I'll try to draw it as close to that as I can. And the mistakes end up being style. So there you go. And I was very happy with the work we did on Memoirs. It was a fast turnaround on the book. I really like the story. Ian's a really good writer, and
Yeah, I like the story too.
yeah, I thought it came out really good. I think it's something that we could expand upon, and I think I've talked to you about that. I think it's something down the line I would like to revisit, maybe expand it, and maybe do our own book. Ian's kind of busy with a lot of his own stuff right now.
Well, he just had a kid too, didn't he?
Yes, he had a kid, and he just had. He's got his ongoing. He's got the Tomb series that he's doing, and was very successful on Kickstarter, and very high quality book. Very happy for his success with that, and the network he's been able to build, and the body of work, and the fans, and everything. It seems like he's really building up that genre for himself, and it's fun to work with him. He's a really smart guy. We're using him as an editor on a current Kickstarter project that I'm working on, and Ian knows his stuff. He's sharp dude, sharp writer, very creative, and a lot of fun to work with. So if he wasn't fun to work with, it wouldn't make it worthwhile. But
Yeah,
it's if you're not doing comics for fun, then why are you doing it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the comments. Donna's mentioning that I need to have an intro. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Donna. So the thing was, I have a neighbor who owns his own recording studio, and he was going to help me put together a theme song. Which, I mean, I would rather have like a custom theme song than like stock music. But the problem is, like, since he's not charging me for it, he was just going to do it like out of the kindness of his own heart. I can't really, get on his case about, hey, like, when are you going to find time to help me put this theme song together? Um, so that's why we don't have a theme song. So, but I might have to put together something just temporary until I can get like a permanent theme song. So that's the reason for why I don't have an intro yet.
What kind of music do you want for your theme song? What are you
I don't
thinking?
know, something instrumental, just kind of like jazzy, I guess.
There's my favorite. A lot of podcasters do that. They kind of do their own theme songs. There's a couple that I've really liked that sound kind of like the rejoining music for like action shows from the 70s and stuff, where they've got the bongos and the horns and all that stuff. I always kind of like those. I think they're kind of fun, but it's I do think, building, as you build your channel and you build your brand, I think definitely music can definitely help in that. And
Yeah.
there's people that really there's people that are, all kinds of channels on YouTube who do that, and it's it gets kind of fun to hear that a good jingle and stuff. I think we're kind of trained as connoisseurs of pop culture that we do that. We enjoy like the joiner music, and it becomes part of the experience and everything. So
Like when you hear the song, it's almost like what do they call it, like Pavlov's dog, where it's just like,
yeah,
oh yeah, okay, it's now time to listen to that show.
yeah. I always am like, I'm always have a big thing for like things that remind me of when I was a kid and getting up for Saturday morning cartoons. Those kind of things always kind of kind of intrigue me. It's like you said, a Pavlovian response, because it's like, oh, it's just like when I was a kid, and it reminds me of getting up and eating cereal and having fun and watching cartoons and stuff like that.
So like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like
Yeah,
that?
oh yeah, stuff like that, or like I always like the intros to stuff like Johnny Quest. The intro to that
Oh,
was
okay.
always really cool, and like
You see, I
the
didn't.
more of all the newer stuff that WB does, like the Batman and Superman Justice League.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
I love the my favorite is probably Batman Beyond. I love the intro on Batman Beyond. That's just, it's the best. I love that. I love that whole show. But it's just, it's got a, I like the groove to it, and just it kind of set it. It's got kind of this thing where it's kind of futurist. You get the feeling you're seeing something from the future when you're listening to that music and stuff like
Right.
that. But yeah, yeah. But
So yeah. So anyways, yeah, Donna, I agree with you. We need an intro, but I hope you don't think I'm making excuses. But that's the reason why we don't have an intro yet. But I don't know. Maybe I'll put something together, like just until I can get something more permanent. Um, but anyways, so Matt, so this drawing that you're doing, um, this is a character you said you created.
oh yeah, yeah. It's just one of those things I like to draw. Sometimes I like to just do stuff as like in between like working on actual pages and stuff. I always find it's a lot of fun just to kind of let loose on something that has nothing to do with anything. And this is similar. This character is similar to an actual character that I've made up, and this is kind of like me just kind of working out some of the kinks on this other character. But the other character doesn't look exactly like this. It's just sort of a facsimile thing, and just a general kind of a crazy kind of robot thing. I don't know, kind of like something that looks high tech, but I wanted to really. Uh, a lot of what I wanted to work on with this was a lot of this, getting all this detail right, kind of working on how am I going to ink this, and how is that going to work, and how do I get all that detail to look the right way. So I would definitely say this is more of like an exercise thing, or and I'll probably just finish it up and then take it with me to the next convention I do, and put it up there for sale, see if somebody wants to buy it, kind of a
That's,
thing.
yeah. So you mentioned that you've been working conventions
Yeah.
lately.
Oh no, no, not this year. I haven't worked a convention probably since like right after COVID. I went back and was doing conventions again, but I just haven't had anything really book wise to promote. But
Oh,
like I said,
when you were talking about conventions, you were talking about like attending them. Okay.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. I just came back from San Diego, and like I said, I had some. Um, I told you I picked up some prints there and stuff like that. Some pretty cool stuff. If you want me to share any of that, I could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just because it's like not everybody gets to go to Comic-Con, and I went and bought some cool stuff, so I'm like, show it off. These are some prints by artist Raphael Grandpa, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think he draws Batman and stuff. Here's like a Daredevil print though in the yellow suit that I bought off of him. He had a special where he sold them. I didn't get these signed by him either. He wasn't there when I went and bought them from the guy at his
Oh no.
show. But I like this one just because I love Daredevil. I love Daredevil in the yellow suit, and I just thought this was really a pretty kick-ass
But yeah, the art's
print.
great.
Yeah, yeah, just cool. The colors are great on that, and just it was a lot of fun. And I'm like, not everybody gets to see all this kind of stuff. I'm lucky that I get to go to conventions and stuff. And
You know what's cool about this is that I could see what this costume would look like in real life.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Because I mean, it's obviously not like a lot of like most costumes are obviously just a lot of spandex.
yeah.
But this I could actually like picture.
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
like.
you get the
Sorry.
vibe that this guy is the son of a boxer in this too. It looks like boxing gear. He's got the gloves, looks like a
Exactly.
sweatshirt. looks like a tank top from the gym. It looks like he converted all this from his gym equipment. Same with
Exactly.
it's like this is just a great take, I think, on the character, and I like that the mask where he's got the collar right here, and he's got the mask like that. I think that's
I
pretty cool.
well, yeah, I love the fact that it looks like he took like equipment that he had like lying around the
Yeah,
house, like because
exactly.
like I mean that's the big question. Like
Yeah,
with any of these costumes, it's like okay, how did these like okay something like Spider-Man's costume? How did this like 14-year or 15-year-old kid figure out how to sew this costume together? I mean, is that one of the superpowers that he got from the
exactly.
so I like the idea of like like Matt Murdock was sitting around saying like, okay, I need a costume. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna grab what I have lying around, like my house or the gym or whatever, and I'm going to use that to make my costume.
Yeah. Here's another one he did that I picked up. I don't know if you could. I know I'm getting a little glare on there, but I just love this art, all the architecture. We were talking about architecture before. This is a really nice job on these buildings, but you can see that he kind of takes some artistic license with the edges. Nothing looks like it was drawn with a ruler, uh, which is really cool.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. Speaking of Spider-Man, I got another one there. He did of kind of the Avengers and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Wolverine's kind of an interesting take on Wolverine. But I think it just shows, I like his art because it kind of shows, like, even in the superhero genre, there's room to do some different things. And I got a couple other cool ones in here. This is something kind of a little different. This is Eric Canetti, and this is like a Snow White piece. I thought the colors on that are just incredible.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I just like he's got a lot of energy in his work, and real
Very
interesting
bright colors.
stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
He's got this Avengers one too that I really liked, and I picked up, and oops. And just, he kind of takes some artistic liberty with it, but who cares? It just looks dynamic and cool.
Do you know if he does the colors too?
I don't. I know he doesn't color his own comics. He just does Kickstarters and stuff, but I know he doesn't color. Like, he does a lot of stuff like this, like washes. This is just a wash of just different Iron Man costumes and stuff. But anyway, thought I'd share that with whoever's viewing, because it's like not everybody gets to go to San Diego Comic-Con. It is. I try to tell people all the time when they say, "Oh, it's comic convention," where they call other comic book conventions Comic-Con. I'm like, no, you don't understand what goes on at San Diego. If you're an artist or you're a fan of comic book art, there's no place else that you can see this level of art. And they've got all these dealers there with original pages and things like that, and it's you can go see a lot of the famous stuff that you've seen. I saw this cover by Todd McFarlane that he did though it's pretty famous, where he's got Spider-Man getting punched or punching up on Hulk and lifting Hulk off the ground. I saw it. It's like the guy had the original art displayed for that cover. And
Oh, wow.
he said that he had bought it at Sotheby's for $62,000. And he was displaying it there at the show. And, and you could see stuff like, you can see stuff by all the newer guys, modern artists, but you can also go back and you can see work by guys like, Jack Kirby, John Buscema, people like that. So it's pretty incredible show if you ever can make it out. I'm lucky enough to grow up in Arizona, which isn't very far. Phoenix isn't very far from San Diego, and I've been going there since I was a very young man and going to Comic-Con, and it's grown a lot. But it's always been kind of a pilgrimage every year that I can get tickets. It's not always so easy to get tickets every year, but plus San Diego's pretty awesome. If I could live anywhere on earth, I think I'd live in San Diego.
Oh, really? Where do you live now?
I live up near Sacramento, so I live in a pretty ideal area too. It's really nice here. We're I'm about 2 hours, actually about an hour and a half from Lake Tahoe, and about 2.5 hours from the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, pretty nice place to live. Pretty good climate. We don't get the good climate. You know, just great place to live. There's lots to do here. I mean, it's I really like. I kind of want people not to know about Sacramento though. Sacramento's just an awesome place to live. And like, I don't want anybody else to know about it because everybody's finding out about it and moving here.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, everybody from the Bay Area is all moving out here now. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
you know how it goes.
I mean, it doesn't get like. I mean, I know Phoenix gets insanely hot this time of year.
Yes.
Um,
And you never get used to it. People will say, "Oh, you'll get used to the heat." And I grew up there. I'm like, I never got used to it. I was very happy to leave. I got a job and I moved to up near Seattle, and then my job kind of transferred me down here, and we've been here for, gosh, I've been here for about 13 years, and really don't want to ever live anywhere else. Really like it.
yeah, I mean, I do Uber sometimes, and I pick up people from at from the airport. People have flown in from like Phoenix, and yeah, they all tell me that they tell me that, oh, you get used to the heat, or it's a dry heat, so you don't notice it. Like, and I don't know. When I see that it's 100, I mean, I start dying when it gets up over 85.
Yeah. It's
I do not like hot weather.
I don't either.
I am very happy to live in some place where we get seasons and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's weird. Like, it all depends on what you're used to, what your preferences are. But me personally, I don't think I could live someplace where you just don't get any seasons at all.
Yeah.
Um,
I think people sometimes when they live a place, they tend to like try to defend it like it's not so bad. When I lived up in Seattle, everybody was like, "Oh, the rain's not that bad," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is."
oh, really?
Yeah, that seasonal disorder where you don't get enough vitamin D is real. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a lot of angry, depressed people up in the Northwest.
I'm not gonna. But to be honest with you, I kind of like the
Uh,
rain.
I
I mean,
love it. I
I
thought
mean,
I'd like it too, living there, but it gets to be too much.
it's too much. See, I mean, I
Yeah,
live in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has a lot of rain as well.
yeah.
Um, uh, so I don't know. I like the rain, especially this time of year because it just cools everything off.
Oh yeah.
Like it rained here last night. Like, I mean, it was in the 90s all last week, and then it rained here yesterday, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I can't handle 90-degree weather.
Yeah, I love it when it rains here. This year we've actually kind of come out of a drought a little bit, and we've kind of done all that. But hey, I was going to ask you. I see on your Facebook that you do a lot of conventions and stuff over there. There's just a lot of shows over in Pennsylvania and stuff. Because it seems like I see you and the guys from the what do they call it, Comicsburg.
Right.
Guys, I see a lot of shows and stuff going
So
there.
yeah. So to be perfectly honest with you, we signed up for too many conventions. I think. um, uh, not that I dislike doing the conventions, but oh my God, this was just like too much for me this year. I mean,
Yeah.
um, in the space in the space of 2 months, I think we maybe had 1 or 2 weekends off. Oh, so look at this. Uh, we have a special guest, Ian. Ian was the guy who we were talking about earlier, who wrote the story that Matt drew in the first volume of Memoirs of the Morbid. Yeah, unfortunately, Ian, you got here too late because you You missed Matt saying a lot of nice things about you. Um,
That won't happen again. I won't make that mistake again.
well,
Now,
I think
Ian's a good dude. If you need a editor for your comic book, or you need to pick up a writer, smart dude, creative dude, knows his stuff, and I was lucky enough to meet him at New York City Comic Con, I think about 10 years ago.
oh, okay.
And we've just kind of just kept in touch ever since, kind of put some projects together. I think eventually we're going to we've got one project that we've kind of been working on off and on, that I think when both of us kind of get things settled down, I think is going to be a pretty unique creation when we get it done. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. But that's the tease for that. You'll have to stay tuned. It might not, probably, I would think maybe by 2025 will be, the world's still around. We'll hopefully be putting that book out, I hope. But currently we are, like I said, he's working on a Kickstarter project called Aftermath with me. And
You're working on this, or Ian is?
Ian's my editor. He's the editor. I'm doing the designs and the art. And we have a guy named Andy Norval who is the writer.
Okay.
And Andy's done a lot of web comics and stuff like that, and really really good dude too. He's another California guy. So the West Coast, we're trying to catch up to all you East Coast guys in Pennsylvania and get some comics out. Yeah.
So I'm kind of sorry that I changed the subject. So thank you so much, Ian. I definitely want to work with both of you guys. We've talked before about maybe on volume 3 of Memoirs of the Morbid, working with you again.
That would be cool.
Now, I know you said that you were interested. Now, did you want to? Were you interested in writing and drawing, or just drawing?
Oh, I have really no interest in writing. I'm cool with drawing what other people who, there's so many people that are really good at writing and are trying to get their foot in the door. And I think my best bet for success is to ride on their coattails. And that sounds kind of weird, but I'm like, I have my ideas as far as things I want to do in my future that I've already written. But I'm like, I got to kind of get to a point where I have an audience before you kind of release that stuff out into the world. And I'm kind of holding on to some of those things for the long term. Once I kind of build up a bigger body of work and more of an audience. But I'm kind of hoping this new Kickstarter we're working on will get that ball rolling. And like I said, another Memoirs of the Morbid wouldn't hurt, because like I said, a lot of people saw that, and I've gotten several job offers off of it.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so it's been a
awesome.
good. It's been good, and the more stuff you get in print out there, the better it is for you all around, and I like the idea of like letting you handle all the business part, and all I got to do is draw. And I don't have to do any of that.
You'll let me do the boring parts, right?
Yeah, I just right now I'm just like I got enough boring stuff in my day job, and right now I just like I like to spend my time drawing the stuff I like to draw. And
I hear you.
I understand the business side of comics and stuff, but if there's other people that want to do that, especially people who are writers that are trying to break in, I'm more than happy to help somebody who's got good ideas, and creators who like yourself and Ian that are finishers. They finish stuff. You get stuff done, because that's where I'm weak. And I'm like, well, if I hook up with people who are really strong at that thing, at that part of the equation, it helps me get more stuff done. So, that's kind of my way I look at the whole comic book game and everything else. I'm kind of taking more of a long-term approach to the whole thing. And,
Well, yeah, I mean, let me just say one thing.
Okay.
It's not that I enjoy the business end of doing comic books. I mean, I do it because it's a necessary evil.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I sometimes get messages on like Instagram or Facebook, like people saying like, "Hey, will you publish my comic book for me?" And I'm like, "Well, what? Okay, what do you think I can bring to publishing your comic book?
Yeah.
That you couldn't do by publishing it yourself?" And when I ask that, what it basically comes down to is, in their head, I should do all of the real. I don't want to say real work, because I'm not saying that creative work isn't work, but basically I get to do all the not fun stuff.
Yeah.
But they get, the lion's share of the credit and, the money and stuff. And so I'm very
Well, the part of that equation that needs to change is you getting the money part.
right.
Yeah, you need to be paid for your effort on that front. And I hope that when we do Memoirs of the Morbid, I hope, and things like that, I hope that you do get some sort of profit out of it if we sell a lot of copies and stuff. Because part of the reason I try to do stuff like do anthologies and things like that, I mean, the payment for me is getting work in print. And I mean, I'm in, you can search me on Amazon now because of that book, which is a nice thing, a nice little feather in your cap to have. And it's like, that's, to me, that's at this stage, that's the payment for me. I don't have to, to get a $500 a page rate or something. If I could charge some corporation for that, I would do it. But people that are in the same boat I am as a creator, I'm like, yeah, everybody's sort of in the same boat. And and certain people are better at I think like certain people are better at the project management stuff than other people. And I think it's definitely a skill. And I see so many people in small press and stuff that are really good at that. And I kind of wish, if they want to do it, I mean, to me, those are the people that should probably be editors at these bigger companies and things like that. And that know how to, dot the I's, cross the T's and things like that. And, get business done and do it from a perspective of, doing it on a budget and doing what you can to make money and, make sure your creators are taken care of. And
yeah. So, as far as product management, I think I'm half decent at it. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at finding the artists, finding the writers, pairing up good writers with good artists. I think I'm fairly good at that, and making sure the story is relatively clear. As far as like the marketing side of things, I don't know if I'm as good at that. But I have been talking to a couple of marketing people for the next issue of Beowulf. And so, if obviously if issue 6 of Beowulf sells a lot more copies, obviously I'm going to use them on the future issues of Memoirs of the Morbid as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably selling yourself a little short because you have 2 ongoing things that you deliver Beowulf and Memoirs of the Morbid, you've been on a consistent delivery for that. So, that takes its own, effort and skill set and things like that. And like I said, to me, that's pretty valuable. I'm willing to do a lot for people who can, that have that skill set, and things will get published at the end of the day.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Just saying, I've done a lot of, especially like, when I first started drawing comics and stuff, there was an independent company that paid me for maybe the first 5 pages of the first issue I did. And I drew 6 issues of this book for these guys. And they promoted it and everything at Chicago Comic-Con. They were a Chicago-based company, a different one than the one I was talking to earlier. But, after all that, they still after the first issue, they never got the other 5 issues out. And the guy who was running the company went to prison for a while. It all went bad. And it's like, ever since then, it's just like, working for smaller companies sometimes where they don't have people who are good at actually getting things into print. Because, last thing, I don't mind doing the work, but I don't want to waste my time if things aren't going to print, So
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, that's happened for me too. I mean, that's why I a lot of times I tell artists, charge money up front, because I mean, at least that way you at least have the money.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, it's frustrating doing all this work on stuff, and then it never comes out. And I mean, and that's happened to me as well too, where not just I've been hired by people to do the art for stories, and I do a bunch of art, and it seems like they lose interest in it like halfway through the process, or they didn't count. They hired an artist before they realized like how big of an undertaking they were signing up for, and you can almost start to feel like, oh god, this is never going to get printed, is it?
Yeah.
And it's such a horrible feeling. And I mean, and I've also worked on like anthologies where you go in on day one and it's like everybody seems so excited, so enthusiastic, and then like 2 months into it, you're like, okay, am I the only one on this project who's done any actual work?
Yeah. I've had that happen a couple times where the anthology, and you'd end up doing the work for the anthology and then it gets canceled because you don't have enough other people getting stuff done or something like that. And it's, I understand life comes up, and creative people kind of are like that sometimes, where it's real easy when you start off on something to be excited about it, and then once that the endorphins and all that kind of wear off of the new thing, that comes down to where you have to actually do the work for it and get it done, and sometimes that part's not as fun.
Yeah,
but
at least if it's an anthology, you can take your story and sell it someplace else.
Yeah.
The really bad news is like when you're working with a collaborator, whether you're an artist or whether you're a writer, it can be very, very frustrating when your collaborator just kind of loses steam like halfway through.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess the question, like, I mean, I guess if you're a writer and your artist loses interest halfway through, you could always hire a different artist. But then, I mean, that kind of looks like unprofessional if you've got, half a comic book drawn by somebody and the other half is drawn by somebody else.
Yeah. But I mean, that kind of stuff honestly happens at all levels.
Yeah.
That happens with the most seasoned pros and things like that. So I don't know if it's just, this is the thing, man. Doing this stuff, comic books, is a lot of hard work, and it sounds like it's all going to be fun and games and stuff when you start working on stuff. Or I think the outside world thinks it's just all, oh, you punch something into a computer and it comes out, but it takes a lot of schooling, a lot of hard work just to get to the point where you can draw. When somebody like asks you to draw something, you can draw it.
Yeah.
um, just getting to that point, and then getting to the point too that well, I can take these images, put them together, and I can actually tell a story with them. And it's a lot of work to get to that point as an artist, but it's a lot of work to get in as a writer too, and to learn all those different disciplines, colorist, letterer, everything in this business. It's a lot of hard work with you got to kind of do it because you like to do it, and maybe you have a vision down the line. Thing kind of keeps me going is I kind of have some long-term goals and some visions of things I want to create. And um, I a lot of that stuff is in a sketchbook or written in a notebook now, and putting
Right.
it together for that eventual thing is like, you know I work on that stuff, and I'll even get pages started for projects, like that. And um but at the same time, I'm like, well, I do I want to keep working on this if I've got other stuff that I know is going to get in print, and things like that. So it's kind of a give and a take, but it's like I said, it's a lot of work to do, to learn how to draw competently enough to do comics, and then to actually, you might be a good artist or a good writer and you just never really find an audience for your work too. I mean, but you got to keep, it's like fishing. You just got to keep throwing the line out there. And if something isn't working, you try something new. Maybe you try a different genre. Maybe you try a different kind of, um, type of book to draw, or for, hook up with different creators to try to hit that sweet spot where you can create something that, and I think the goal for everybody, I don't know about you or Ian or anybody else in there, I want to create something that's great, that outlives me when I'm gone, and that's my ultimate goal. It's more than just being about, making money or,
That would be amazing, right?
yeah. I mean, it's like, you're talking legacy and stuff. I want something that, my kids and grandkids down the line can go, hey, my grandfather, made that kind of thing. I think everybody wants to leave a legacy. And if, and the legacy I want to leave is making some great comic books. And that's about where it starts and ends. Whether it ever takes off as something bigger, that's not really where my interest is. It's more in, hey, can I ever make something that's like the picture in my head? Can I get
Yeah.
that out into the world and tell
I
the
mean,
stories I want to tell? Which is, it's a struggle, but
yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, no, go ahead. I'm just talking. I'm long winded. I'm
I
just
was
saying.
gonna. I was gonna say. I think I've told this story on the show before, but one of my proudest moments was I have a stepdaughter, and she had a sleepover, and I overheard her like showing her friends my comic books, and I was like,
Isn't that cool?
yeah, I was like, this is kind of better than getting like a deal with like getting nominated for an Eisner or
Yeah.
like getting a contract with Image or something like that. But yeah, I think I know that I was naive when I first started working in comic books because my idea was, you know, you sit down, you make the comic book, and then you just put it out there in the world, and people will find it and read it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think um, the marketing. I mean, and I think I was also naive in that uh, I also underestimated how easy it would be to get a publisher to publish my comic book. Um, I mean, I did send Beowulf to all the big comic book publishers, and it got rejected from all of them. I mean, I got nice rejection letters from some of them. I got a nice rejection letter from Eric Stevenson of Image Comics, which is
There
cool.
you go.
I should probably print that out and frame it, right?
Yeah, I those are, it's cool to actually get when people take the time to do that stuff too, because it's like, I hope they realize that those are the kind of little things that kind of can keep you going when you kind of give up hope, whenever, because I think everybody who does this gets to a point where they're like, oh, I can't do this, I'm just giving up, kind of a thing. And it's like, um it's, I think having those little encouragements and things like that from your peers and other people is important, and it has a lot of value. Um, it's a good thing being an artist. You can at least go show your work to other artists and get pointers and things like that. It's kind of tougher for writers because it's like, you got to get somebody to sit down and read a book or a script and stuff, and it's that's not always so easy to do. But
Yeah. I mean,
but
yeah. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I've been doing Beowulf now for close to 3 years, and in that time, really, the number of people who have like taken the time to send an email and say like, "Hey, I really enjoyed the comic book," or the opposite, like, "Hey, I thought that this and this could be better." Um, it's surprising to me the number of people who have done that is very, very small.
yeah. Oh, speaking of Beowulf, I forgot that I had this. I'm still working on doing a pinup for you. That's a Beowulf pinup that I've started, but I'll eventually get this finished. But I've got most of your main characters in there. But I had one of these completely inked, but I really hated it, so I started over. But
Oh,
there's
okay, yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, that's a quick look at it, but I think this will come out good when I get it done. But I think when I finish it, I'm going to I'm gonna I'm gonna scan it, and I'm gonna digitally do the some of the kind of the shading and stuff like that, and maybe color it. But
Yeah,
anyway,
so I don't know.
I think I promised this for you like a long time ago, but I do have it here, and I have been working on it. It's just,
I don't know if you heard the sound effect, but I totally took a screenshot of that
oh no,
because it
I
looks
can
cool.
I can take it. I'll when I get it fully inked, I'll take a scan of it and send it to you. I got a lot of detail in there, so it's just like I want to ink it traditionally, and then I'm going to scan it and then clean it up on my iPad and add some value to it and stuff. I've been doing that with some of my older pencil drawings, and stuff's coming out really good. So
Do you like that? You said you're drawing it traditionally and then inking it
yeah,
digitally?
I'm really in this process now of taking stuff like this drawing, like doing the pencils like I did here, and then scanning it, and then doing all the inks digitally on my iPad. I really dig that process. I can make a lot more mistakes with the inking, and I can layer. I've got this process now where I'm starting to layer my inks and stuff like that, and I really like the way things are coming out. I think it's going to be a real bonus to my artwork.
So that's interesting because I was actually thinking about starting to do the opposite, where I do the layouts in Photoshop and then
Yeah,
I print them out and then I ink it traditionally because I mean I do like inking digitally, but there is something about that traditional ink. Like
yeah.
you
I
can
never.
definitely tell when something has been traditionally inked versus
Yeah, I the I I used to say that all the time because I've had several tablets and different things, but this Apple Pencil that I've got now, I've got like the latest iPad and this Apple Pencil. That thing is so good. It is like it's like drawn like this.
Oh,
I
really?
can't believe how nice it is. And the thing is, I can if I it's real easy to do like something like this. I don't have to get the get out a template or anything like that to do circles or real straight lines. I mean, it kind of helps you self correct that kind of stuff, which is a nice way to do it. But I really like the effects I can get of taking, especially if I do fully rendered pencils and then taking the ink and kind of going in there and messing with the values and stuff. I think it's a cool process, and you can do some different stuff. But I think it's really an individual choice and individual taste, because I see so many artists and stuff that just do things different ways. And I always want to be able to sell original art. And it's like, hey, if I have fully rendered pencils, it's really not going to be any different than if I was working for somebody and they had a separate inker. Um, I still have the pencils anyway. So it's like, I kind of like the idea of, if I'm going to have to be my own inker, I like to have the pencils where I can try some different takes on it. If I don't like, the way it's coming out, I can try inking it a different way without, I know you can do that by scanning and printing and all that. I'm so bad at the whole process of scanning art and moving around. It's just like, on the iPad, it's so easy. The sizing's easy. The format's easy. It's just super, not a big problem for me. And I'm real like old school, where I don't like using digital at all. But I've had this thing for about 6 months, and I'm actually, I draw with it every day, and I'm finally starting to figure out how to do some things like the way I do it here, but do it on the pad with having the flexibility to work a little faster and to be able to really go in and, like, if I like this section right here, I'm limited by the width of this pen and kind of my own eyesight. But if I want to really go in on this detail in there, I'll go really in here, and I'll really do the edges in here and do some different things to add a little more texture and stuff that's a lot harder to do with a pen, or especially if I'm using a Croco versus a marker. It's just, or using a brush. It's just the detail you can get into, especially if you're doing stuff like faces and things like that. It's I like to do detail, and it's like it really enables me to do a little bit more. So it's really cool. But anyway,
Yeah.
ha,
Um,
hey,
yeah. I mean, the thing that I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, I was at an event a little while ago, and people were asking me to do like hand drawn stuff, and I was actually getting nervous because, like, you know what I mean, like people would bring in like the blank, like the artist covers where
oh
you're supposed to
yeah,
draw on them, and I
yeah,
was getting nervous because like it's been so long since I've drawn like an actual pen on a piece of paper. Like I was like, oh my god, can I even do this anymore? But like I mean, I hate to say it, but the digital art, it makes it so convenient. It really does.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, and it's, if I've gone in, because I've been really reluctant to do it. I'm very, I went to art school. I'm a trained fine artist who works traditionally. That's my strength. That's what I learned. And I've talked to several artists in the business with the same kind of background, and just they said, just money wise, the ability to draw faster. If you put any of your process into digital, it's worth it for the money part, because you can produce that much more work that much faster. But I think it's important for any artist. I don't think anybody should ever go 100% on anything. I don't think at this point in life you should be 100% traditional. I think you should know how to use the digital tools. I think you should not be 100% digital. I think you should know how to, like you said, if you're at a show or somebody wants you to draw something, if you can't draw anything with a pencil anymore, what's the point? I mean, it's like, I don't understand that thinking, but there's a lot of people like that are, super dependent on their digital tools versus being able to draw, traditionally. I think as an artist, I try to do both every day. And, they're at the end of the day, they're just all tools. But I think, these are the things for the business. You got to be proficient in these things. I even do. I prefer to ink with the Copics, the archival ink ones. But every once in a while, I'll do something like this, and I'm like, I got to brush ink just
Yeah,
so
I
I
was
stay
gonna ask you
sharp and
what
be able to brush.
I was gonna
And
ask you what you were inking with.
oh yeah, I'm inking with Copics multi-liners. These are they're waterproof. And for like big black areas, I'll use something like this, like a Faber-Castell, because it's like these are like the pit inks, so they're archival inks. They won't fade because you don't want to use like
Right.
Sharpies or something because it'll fade on you. It'll turn all blue and stuff like that. Hey, before we go, if we're gonna go, I don't know how long you want to do this.
We usually
If,
do
if
about an hour, but I
okay,
mean, we have like another 5 or 6 minutes if you want.
okay. If I always, I'm always telling people that I know that are artists about this eraser. I'm never able to remember the name of it. If you ever need an eraser, this thing called the Moo eraser, and if you go, they're a professional eraser. They are
You
Korean,
can't
I
remember the
believe.
word moo?
I always forget the name of them.
That seems
But
like a pretty easy thing to remember.
But this eraser, right? This is what they look like in the thing. But this eraser, if you like to draw like with blue line or anything like that, and even if you draw, I can almost erase ink with this without destroying the paper. This is the best eraser ever invented.
Wow.
It just takes every. I mean, it's so easy. Just like the pen, it's just gone. It just takes everything out. It doesn't wreck your paper. It makes like a big shreddy mess, and they kind of get rounded out, and they end up looking like this after a while. But I mean, I'll use one of these erasers for like a year, and I've got a stockpile of them in case they discontinue them, because it's just like the best, I think, best eraser ever made. Here's
Oh,
another good. Oh, go ahead.
So you're like stockpiling them just in case they stop
Yes,
making them?
I went and bought. I saw it because I couldn't find them online for a while unless I bought them out of Korea. So I went to an anime show, and there was a distributor there from Asia, and I bought a bunch from them. But now you can get them, I think, on Amazon. But here's another. I have problems, or I when I get critiques a lot, people tell me like, hey, your faces look too flat or something like that. So I saw this guy that had a 3D printer, and he had this custom made like head with all the planes on it. So like you can see like how good that is to like when you got to draw a face at a weird angle or something. Look at the way that light hits that. So I can either take a picture of that or hold this thing up for doing heads. And I think I've had it about a year, and I think it really has helped me draw better faces and heads.
You know what that would be good for? Which I know something that I'm bad at is keeping a consistent light source.
Oh yeah.
Because if you actually take the time to look at any of my drawings, you'll realize like, okay, this guy, the light is coming from the left. Another guy, the light is coming from the right. Another guy, like the light is, so like I always draw like the shadows on somebody's faces and the highlights whatever way I think will look cool for that face, which I know that's something that I need to work on.
Yeah, it's something hard to get, and it's part of that too is learning how to line up all that line weight as an inker too when you're inking your own stuff, to try to show that that what direction the light's coming, where's your light source at, and things like that. It's I think it's all a learning process. I think when you have an issue with whenever I find that I have an issue or somebody brings up something, hey Matt, you need to work on this, I try to look at the people outside comic books and things like that. I'll look at some comic book artists, but I look at enough comics where I don't think I need to look at more comic book artists as far as figuring things out. But looking at traditional artists, I think with planes and things like light source, I'm a big fan of I like painters and stuff like that, but I'm a big fan of a lot of great sculptors and stuff. And sculptors are like, just the masters of planes and how to set things up as far as like, form goes and things like that. And that's what, shadows and cast shadows, it's all about getting the form right. And then, the shadow takes care of itself, pretty much. But it's, if we get the form correct, the rest of that's pretty easy.
So Carl asked, do people actually complain about the direction of a light source in a comic book? See, nobody's ever actually complained about it. It's all just in my head. But like in my head, I'm like, I look at the drawings that I do, and I'm like, oh my god, like these light sources are not at all consistent. But I mean, and I've also um, I I do kind of subscribe. I know like Martin Scorsese movies, they have a lot of continuity errors, and like whenever interviewers have brought this up to Martin Scorsese, his answer is always like, "Who gives a fuck?"
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's like, it's funny because it's like I think most people that are going to be reading your comic and stuff aren't going to care, unless the only time people are going to care about anything you screw up with art is if it takes them out of the reading of the story. If they're going like, you've got 6 panels here, anything that's going to stop, if it's something just looks so weird that it that it stops me where I can't keep reading the book, then you've screwed up. But other than that, it's mainly things that you hear other artists, criticizing other artists, or an editor saying, hey, we could do this better here or there. I don't think the average person buying a comic book, I think they basically judge the artwork on either does it get in the way of the story, or does it bring you into the story? Is it cool? I mean, I think that's the easiest way. Does what I draw look cool? Does it look weird? The bar is pretty low, but and we're always going to notice the things that are wrong more than anybody who ever probably looks at the book. It's, there's things that I see. It's like, anything I've ever drawn, it's like somebody might go to me, oh, I really like the way you did this, that, or the other thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I just hate everything about that, type of a thing. But I mean, I think that's just a natural part about being an artist. I mean, because it's like, if I ever get things perfect, I will put this pen and pencil down and never draw again. But I don't think that's ever going to happen, and that's part of the beauty of everything, is the struggle. And I don't think, us as artists looking at our work and going, hey, I need to work on this, that, or the other thing. At the end of the day, in comics, it's all about serving the story. And the more things don't have to be realistic. They don't have to be perfect. They just need to be believable, and they need to not take you out of the story. And I think that's, at the end of the day, kind of the job of an artist. You're not there to be, nobody working in comics is a perfect artist, nor are they the greatest artists on earth. There may be some that think they are, but there's plenty of draftsmen and painters in the normie world that run circles around you. So focus on the thing that makes you unique as a comic book artist, which isn't how well you draw a face, not how well you, I don't know, draw a building. It's right. How well do you tell a story, and how do you bring people into a story? Because it's a great thing. I'm telling people stories is a great thing to have with visual art. And it's why I think most of us try to do it. We give it an attempt and try to tell our stories and communicate things long term to people. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it, because it's like, I don't think you can ever be too self-critical on your stuff, but at the same time, you got to deliver.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could give you 1,000 examples of artists where, like, I mean, you could look at their art and say, okay, this is technically wrong, but it's still great. I mean, you could even do that with Kirby, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
Um, and there were and I mean, and that's something that's it. It's interesting that we've whitewashed over that in history, but there were people when Kirby first came out who were like, "Oh, this doesn't look right."
Oh, I remember being somebody who was I was very critical of Kirby when I was younger, and I it took me. I think it really took me going and actually seeing some of his work in person. And the thing that the thing with his work that I was kind of I marveled at and stuff like that is just the the stuff doesn't look, of course, realistic, but the guy could do a squiggly line and put this weight into it, and this strength into to just little goofy lines and stuff in his characters that it's so hard to do. It's some of that whole less is more thing.
So Matt, so
And
who are some of the artists that like a young Matt Mossman saw?
oh,
Like,
there's a lot. I mean, it's I as far as guys I like and versus influences. I mean, there's as far as growing up, my favorite artist is was George Perez.
okay,
And I really liked him. And then I kind of discovered guys like Neil Adams and John Byrne.
yeah,
The guys are real heavy on storytelling.
right.
And Frank Miller. Frank Miller kind of was the one who got me into thinking of comics as a as a something I wanted to do long term.
So
I always liked.
I'm guessing you're a little bit older than me, just
Oh
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
artist
yeah.
you
I'm an
mentioned.
old. I'm 100 years old, but
Well, okay, well, I just turned 43, so I'm guessing
yeah,
you're
I'm
mid
about
50s.
yeah, I'm about 10 years older than you.
Okay,
But I mean, but guys like the guys that kind of really spoke to me as an artist were like guys. I mean, Simon Bisley,
oh yeah, he's
Ariel Olivetti,
okay.
Steve Dillon,
Oh
um,
yeah,
Frank Quietly. He's another one.
okay.
Doug Mankey, who nobody ever talks about. Doug Mankey. I love Doug Mankey.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
guy who created the mask.
Yes.
If
Yes.
you guys have ever seen the Jim Carrey movie The Mask,
Yeah.
he's had a really nice career
Yeah.
doing DC comics.
He's doing a black label book that's coming out about every 6 months for DC. That's a Swamp Thing. That is,
Oh,
I cannot recommend highly enough. It is really good. But I mean, there's a lot of guys today I really like. I really like Daniel Warren Johnson.
oh yeah, of course.
I really like Sean Gordon Murphy. Like I think I mentioned to you before, like Eric Canetti, the guy I showed pictures of his stuff. Raphael Grandpa, I really like his work a lot. There's a lot of guys out there. I just think we're in an age of some very good artists all the way around. The most amazing artist I think working today is a guy named Riccardo Federici,
Okay.
who's he's doing. Actually, I think I got his. He just did this. This is Night Terror's Detective Batman. It just came out this week. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like here, I'll pull some work out for you. I've talked to him online to kind of see how he does what he does. But I mean, these are some of his. You guys can see that, but I don't want to give you a copyright strike. But he pencils everything with no inker, and it goes straight to color.
Yeah.
And it's his pencils are incredible, but it doesn't even do justice to it. Seeing it and I mean, but like this dude is such a good artist, and I love the way he draws faces and people, and his pencil work I repost on Twitter all the time. People are probably sick of it, but I mean stuff like that is so bad. But
Wow.
this
Yeah.
guy, he's I believe an Italian artist, and I follow him on Facebook. And if you guys aren't following him and you love art, especially creepy kind of stuff like this. He did. He just came off of Action Comics, actually, a really good run on that. That
Oh,
was really
cool.
good. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to DC, but man, this, like I said, this guy's art is so off the hook good. But
You
anyway,
know what?
I don't want to get you in trouble by posting showing a comic on there. But
I'm I'm not
yeah,
gonna
that
lie to you. I don't pay a lot of attention to Marvel or DC nowadays. It's like I don't have. I think it's the patience that I don't have. Like it's. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know. I'm almost entirely an indie now.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I tell everybody, I'm kind of at this thing where I'm like buying. I used to be like, I go to the comic book store every week, and I used to be a guy who bought maybe like 60%, 70% Marvel, maybe 20% DC, and the rest I'd buy Image or some other indie book or something. And now I'm kind of finding it's a split where it's sort of like 30, 30, 30. And you know, and I've got a very good local comic shop that
Right.
puts a lot of stuff up that is
You go
smaller.
to the what's the name of that comic book store that you go to? I can't.
Empire's Comic Vault.
Empire
And
Comics.
yeah, and they carry all of Marvin's stuff. They've always had all of his stuff. I think Marvin's actually Marvin Wynn is who I'm talking about. I know
Mar-
he's interviewed with
Marvin
the
Wynn. My friend Marvin Wynn, he does a comic book called The Edge, which is
yes,
a neat little comic book. It's kind of similar to like GI Joe
yep.
from the '90s, or like that Chris Claremont X-Men. Um,
Yeah, it's
sorry, I didn't get
the art's really good on it too. But I mean,
yeah.
this the my shop has been carrying his books. I think he's been carrying The Edge since he started doing it. And I know he's interviewed him on his YouTube. He's
Yeah.
interviewed Marvin on there, and I think Marvin used to be back on. I think I remember Marvin from being on Digital Webbing like a while ago when Digital Webbing was when online chat rooms and stuff were a big deal in comics. You know,
So
that good kind of stuff.
so since we're talking about Marvel and DC, I should mention that one of the guys who worked on Volume One of Memoirs of the Morbid is now working for DC.
That'd be
Uh,
Clay.
yeah, Clay McCormack, who
Yeah.
did the one cover. I think he actually did the cover for the story you did, right?
Yep. Yep, he did. I've I tried to. I brought a copy with me to get him to sign it, and I forgot he was at the show. I was like, I think it was up at the show in Portland last year, and I
Oh
think
no.
I said something to him on Twitter that I was going to get him to sign it and talk to him. But yeah, I love that cover. But I mean that the covers you have on the second volume, dude, those covers are so good. I mean, really, I think our cover was really solid. I love what Clay did, but it was like all across the board, the covers that you have this time are so good. I don't know. You did a great job picking artists for that and
Thank you.
kind of managing that. I think that comic book covers are kind of a lost art, and not everybody does such a great job on them. And
Hmm.
I really like. I mean, I love the one Clay did for our book, but I really like
Yeah, I
the
mean he's a very talented guy.
yeah,
He
and
definitely deserves all the success he's having right now.
he's I believe that he is writing with Sean Gordon on Sean Gordon Murphy's books on
Right.
the Batman ones. I've seen his name on there.
From
That's
what
how
I
I.
from what I understand, he's doing a comic book called Generation Joker, which
Oh wow.
which I mean it's crazy to me that the DC has more than one Joker comic book. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean it sounds like a cool comic book. I want to buy it. Just you said he's only writing it. He's not drawing it.
I think. Well, I don't know about this new one. On the one that he was doing, I actually think I got one around here somewhere. anyway, I know that I've seen him as a co-writer on Murphy's books. Excuse me, but I'm not sure exactly if he was just the writer or if he did any art. I don't think he did any art on there because it looked like Sean Gordon Murphy's artwork. But I've seen it. He posts a lot of artwork on Twitter, and
he's great.
Stuff looks good. He's a good artist. He's a good artist, good writer. Seems like a good dude. Glad he did our cover because I think it's really nice. I like showing that. I like showing that cover, and that we Ian and I kind of came up with that scene in the book, and it made such a nice cover. I really like what he did with it. So yeah.
So, we were talking about Marvin Wynn earlier. I didn't even know he was in the chat watching.
Yep.
I don't know if you know Art of Roy.
Yes. Yeah.
He said hi to you specifically.
Oh no, Roy's an incredible artist and a funny guy.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've enjoyed his art for a long time, and he gave me one of my. I think I joked with him about this. I remember he gave me a review of a piece of art I posted on Digital Webbing, and kind of destroyed me. It was like a really nice piece too, and he's like, this doesn't look right. And I was like, yeah, he's one of those guys I kind of respected as an artist. So I kind of
Isn't that the worst when you post a piece of art that you're happy with, and then and it's not even like somebody's being mean. Like you listen to what they're saying and you realize oh yeah.
Well, and this is the thing. I look at the piece now. He was 100% right. So it's like
that's the worst.
It's like but it's like that's the only way you get better, and it's the only way you grow at anything is you listen to people who you respect and know what they're doing, and you could choose to consume what they give you or not, but I don't know. I try to stay pretty open-minded and keep my ego out of it. I don't have a lot of ego towards art. I think what I can do and what I can't do and what I need to work on. So, yeah. And I don't know. I kind of try to run my own race when it comes to art and not really compare myself to other people, but at the same time, respect what others who are professional and know what they're talking about have to say to me, because I want to get, at the end of the day, I want to get better. So, there you go.
That sounds like good advice to me. I think I'm going to call it a night. I just looked at the clock and I realized it's been it's been well over an hour now.
Yeah.
So did you want to promote anything before?
Not yet, but I will make sure I'm coming on your other art streams, and if I got anything to promote, I'll promote it in the chat or let you know ahead of time. Like I said, I've got a Kickstarter that we are in the process of working on. Right now I'm in character design phase, and I think we're going to be pitching a Kickstarter there, but would love to, if you ever need somebody else to do this again, I'm more than willing to come on there. I can chew up your hour pretty quick. But it's nice to know that we got a few people in here that I kind of know and have talked to online, and they can put a voice with the annoying comments that I make over time. So,
well, thank you for being on the show.
No problem, Grant.
And thank you everybody who watched.
Yep, thank you.
And we will be back next week. I think Randy Zimmerman is going to be on next week, right? August 7th. Randy Zimmerman's going to be here. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, everybody who attended.
Awesome.
Good night,
everyone. Grant.